How's everyone doing today? This is JJ Domination, and holy smokes, did we see one hell of a Sunday night game. Probably the most dramatic Sunday night game I've ever seen between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. The 100th year of their historic rivalry, Green Bay has the edge by 3 games. The score was tied, like the all-time points scored by both franchises were tied, and Green Bay narrowly escapes with a 1-point victory, 24-23 against the Chicago Bears. And I'm here to give you my thoughts on the game and basically give you a basic summary of what happened out there. So it was in the first quarter where we saw Green Bay struggling to produce on offense. Meanwhile, the Bears were making light work of the Packers' new defense with Mike Pettine as the defensive coordinator and new additions like Jair Alexander and Muhammad Wilkerson struggling early on. This season and this game in particular will be the personification on it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And I feel like this game, like I said, in this season is going to be the true definition of that. Like Tampa Bay beat the New Orleans Saints earlier today with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, I believe the Saints will obviously be better than Tampa Bay down the road, but I mean, come on. Initially, Tampa Bay just won one of their 3 very tough games without Jameis Winston. But it's not about the Bucs or the Saints, it's about the Packers and the Bears. The Bears were red hot to start things out. The Packers had a scare, man. It was 3rd and 10 where Khalil Mack, man, he got in there. He wasn't the one that made the hit. It was I know his last name's like Robertson Smith. I can't think of his first name, but number 95 for the Bears just crushes down on Aaron Rodgers' left leg. I thought he like re-strained his calf or possibly torn it, but it was like some sort of knee injury, and it caused him to be carted off the field. He did limp to the sideline, but they carted him back to the locker room for a little bit after he spent time in the tent. Let's talk about Khalil Mack, though. Had one of the most historic first halves ever. The first player since 1982 to record a sack, an interception, a touchdown, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Khalil Mack was all over the stat sheet. And Raiders fans right now have to be irate with John Gruden entering their game tomorrow because they just saw Khalil Mack post a historic stat line against one of the historic franchises like Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers still going down. It sent a shockwave through the Packer fan base, and it scared the hell out of me. I was already saying, we're going to be asked this year. Just prepare to have a high draft pick. Aaron Rodgers may be out again for another year. Thankfully, we avoided that bullet. We did see a couple of drives with DeShone Kizer where it looked promising, but similar to his time with Cleveland, he's just turnover prone, and it comes at the absolute worst time. He's about to score. Khalil Mack basically just took the ball from him. It was like taking the playoffs away from the Cowboys. No, I'm just playing. It was like taking candy from a baby, if you want like a true analogy. And then later on, like a drive later, maybe 2 drives later, that's where he throws the pick 6. It looked like it was some sort of screen pass, and he was just trying to throw it like away, like to the sideline, but he gets hit as he throws it, and Khalil Mack, who backs away from Brian Bulaga, is able to make a play on it. By the way, Khalil Mack had a big impact against a right tackle coming back from injury. I'm not trying to diminish what Khalil Mack did because, believe me, he had an insane performance. But let's be real. He went up against the worst tackle. If he would have went up against Bakhtiari, he probably still has an impact, but it's definitely not the impact he had against an injury-prone, coming back from a ACL tear, Brian Bulaga. And let me not get started on the guard play. The guards were terrible. Lane Taylor was inconsistent. He had his moments down the stretch where he was decent. And Justin McCray, good in the run game, really bad as a pass blocker. And Corey Linsley, he's a good impact blocker. He's good at just getting his hands dirty. He's not really well-rounded at any category of blocking, however. The Bears started to slow down in the second half. It's almost like the momentum just shifted. It's like the Packers needed to get the halftime for things to change. 20-0. The Bears were up 20-0 at one point. They were up 20-0 against the Packers. I thought it was over. I was like, you know what? We may go on a little bit of a comeback. Like, we may score 10 points, maybe 13, but the Bears win like 24 or like 27-13 or something. But no, that did not happen. Green Bay came out, they scored a field goal with Mason Crosby. They got points on the board with about 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. And then with 5 minutes to go, they throw a deep touchdown pass, like a 40-yard bomb to Geronimo Allison. And that ball was beautifully placed. It was probably the best throw I've seen all week, if you want me to be honest. And if it wasn't the best throw, it was definitely a contender for the best throw we've seen all week. And then he comes back down later on in the game, and he throws a 75-yard touchdown to Randall Cobb. And all of a sudden, you're looking up at that scoreboard, and you're like, whoa, the Packers just took the lead. And, also he threw a touchdown to Devontae Adams, I believe. So, yeah, it's like 24-23. Green Bay gets them 3 and out. Well, that's what we all thought. Until Clay Matthews gets flagged with roughing the passer. And after 1st down and 10 on the new series, we didn't see Clay Matthews until 4th down. They took him off the field. I'm assuming either he was just tired, like just regular get guys in the rotation, or B, he was being disciplined for roughing the passer. I'm not really a huge fan of Clay Matthews. I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. But that's it. I'm not a fan of Clay Matthews. I've never really been a big fan of him. Like, when he was, like, a stud early on in his career, like, yeah, it was great to see him put up numbers. But, like, after, like, 2013 to me, he just got kind of washed. He was asked to do so many different things to the point where it kind of just took away from his main ability, and that's rushing the passer. And now he can't even do that at an elite level. But on the second series, we do see the corners step up. We see Josh Jackson and Jair Alexander, who had a rough first half. Mainly Jair Alexander had a rough first half. Josh Jackson gave up some catches here and there. But Josh Jackson came alive on the last drive. He deflected a couple of passes, got in the way. Jair Alexander was able to do some things too. And Tramon Williams and Kentrell Bryce, shout out to the only 2 people in the secondary who actually know how to tackle. And Jermaine Whitehead wasn't bad either. But, 4th and 10, Mitchell Trubisky scrambles out to the right side of the pocket, and Nick Perry strips him from behind. Packers recover, and that's how they win the football game. So a 24-23 victory. Now, what does this mean for both teams? Well, for Chicago, you can hang your head high. The Packers had to scramble, rely on a couple of freak accident plays like the Kyle Fuller dropped interception. They had to rely on a couple of freak accident plays to happen. So you can hang your head high and just get ready for the next matchup. If you're Green Bay, next week you host another game against Minnesota. Another divisional rival early on in the season. I don't think you can beat them, but you definitely have to think, man, with Aaron Rodgers, the way he played in the second half, you got to believe you have a chance. I don't think they can beat the Vikings, truthfully. I don't, because they're just really stacked at every position except the offensive line, which may be the only chance we have, and that's going to be like in the run defense against Dalvin Cook, who did fumble today, and Latavius Murray, who didn't do much either. So that may be our only chance, because our defensive line is better than San Francisco's, even though San Francisco has a lot of nice young talent, and we just have Kenny Clark as like the young piece, because I think the other 2 edge rushers or the other 2 defensive ends are like 28 and up. But yeah, man, optimism for both teams. Even though Chicago loses, now they can get Roquan Smith back into the system where he gets like a week of actual practice, and now Khalil Mack will not be on a snaps restriction. He'll be able to do his thing out there, wreak havoc. But hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed week 1. I've been wrong on some of my picks today, and that's fine. I was wrong about the Bengals and Colts. Shout out to the Bengals. And definitely expect the podcast Tuesday. Tuesday we should be bringing it, but you probably won't see it till Wednesday or Thursday, depending on like when we're able to get it up. Because, I'm busy and stuff. College has just been stressful. Mainly because, like, it's a lot of reading that I have to do. And, just a whole lot of other stuff. Like, just chilling, just being me, trying to do my thing. But hopefully you guys do enjoy, man. I'm done rambling on. Congratulations to Green Bay, and shout out to every team that won this week. And shout out to the Cleveland Browns. We'll get more into that for the podcast. Peace out, guys.